Welcome everyone to Read the Book First. Today, I have a new guest on the podcast, Ashley from If It Was a Book, the podcast. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Before we dive into what we're talking about today, do you want to tell us a little bit about your podcast?
If It Was a Book is a literary podcast where myself and a guest take a real thing that happened to either myself, a guest, or one of the listeners and rewrites it into what would happen if it was a book. So say you really wish that you could give that perfect comeback to your ex-best friend who has wronged you. And you're like, man, I thought of that perfect comeback 2 years later. In this podcast, you can do that. Or you can turn your best friend into a monster if they were really mean to you. You can turn your evil boss into a demon. You can find a ghost in your house that was making all of the weird creaking noises. Or you can make a middle grade girl who can talk to animals save everyone like little middle grade Dr. Dolittle. And that's what we
Yes.
did on my podcast this week.
Yes, and I'm obsessed with the book series that we decided to write.
So my guests include bookish influencers like yourself. I have authors, I have librarians, I have just anyone in the bookish sphere come on and just rewrite a memory into a book.
Yeah. And I really enjoy your podcast. And I listened, you had Nisha Sharma, who's one of my all-time favorite authors. And as soon as
Love her.
I love her. And so I immediately found your podcast because of, when she was sharing it. And then a lot of just fun people I like on the internet and, I'm mutuals with. So listeners, go check it out. Great podcast. I'll link it below. Before we get into the episode, some housekeeping things. I've already made this announcement, but I have since started a Patreon. So listeners, if you like the show, you can go support me on Patreon. There's going to be some mini episodes with guests. There's going to be reading vlogs, early access to episodes, and even bookmarks and stickers that I'm going to create for you, my listeners. So check that out below. And then also check the content warnings for this episode, just because it does deal with some things that you might want to know the content of before listening to the episode. So check those out. But without anything else, today we're going to be talking about 5 Feet Apart by Rachael Lippincott. This is a quick synopsis, a YA romance about two teenagers who have cystic fibrosis, and it's their forbidden romance, their star-crossed lover. If you've read Me and Earl and the Dying Girl or The Fault in Our Stars, it is in the vibe of those books. You read this for your job, correct? It was a book club pick?
Right. Yes. So my kiddos wanted to read it. And so we read
Mhm.
it. I do just want to say that it was Rachael Lippincott, but it was also Mikki, Daughtry,
Yes.
and Tobias
I
Iaconis.
Iconis?
Iaconis. And Tobias
Yeah.
Iaconis. Because
Yeah.
we did have 3 authors for this one. And I know that Rachael is listed on like the
Mhm.
audiobook and everything
Mhm.
as like the main author, but I don't want anybody else to be left out.
Yeah. So I looked into all the 3 authors because I was curious about how this kind of short YA book had 3 authors. I mean, I haven't written a book, so no shade in that. It takes a lot of work to write a book. The screenplay was being written at the same time this book was being written. So the
Oh.
screenplay started slightly first, which Mikki Daughtry and Tobias Iaconis were writing that, and then they brought in Rachael Lippincott. Was like, okay, you write the book as we're writing the screenplay, so in tandem. But the book did come out before the movie, just barely, but in the same year, which is very rare. Yeah, so I was like, that's interesting. I've never, at least knowingly, read a book with that situation. If you're new to my podcast, there's going to be spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, thanks for listening. Um, this book was so angsty and
Yeah.
and if I was 14, I might have enjoyed it.
So I work with 13
Yes.
to 18-year-olds.
Hmm.
And so I often, when I'm reading YA, have to remind myself that, like, are they making stupid decisions? Yes. Would my 13 to 18-year-olds do this? Absolutely. They are
Hmm.
just all hormones and no impulse control at
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
And the kids who do have impulse control, I feel are going through it. Like, I feel like all of the kids who are like having a wonderful time at home have no
Hmm.
impulse control.
Uh-huh.
And then the kids who are not are like very mature and doing great. And I'm like, you're a perfect angel, but I feel stressed for you.
Yes, yes, that has also been my experience teaching seventh graders. That is very, yeah. When I was reading this, I kept having to pause and ask myself, am I not enjoying this because I'm 31? Or am I not enjoying this because it's not written well? And I think it's a mix of both, to be like frank, you know? I think it's a mix of both. And but I also recognize I am not the audience for this book, right?
Right.
Like it was not written for 31-year-olds who don't have cystic fibrosis,
Hmm.
you know? And I think writing a book with the main characters who do have CF, I think is very important because I do believe everyone deserves to have their story be told. And I think this community of folks who do suffer from the CF throughout their life, they do deserve to have their stories told. To my knowledge, the authors don't have CF, but they were inspired by a family friend, I believe, is what I saw on the
Oh.
Wikipedia. Yeah,
I did
so
not look into it. I assumed one of the three authors would have
mhm.
CF.
Yeah. And I was curious, and like before we actually talk about what the book is like the plot of the book, I was curious and of what people who do have CF, like what their reactions were to this book and this movie. And from what I've read, teenagers with CF loved the book and the movie, adults with CF hated it. And so
I feel like that makes sense.
I think that makes sense, and I feel less guilty about my immediate reaction to finishing this book. You know?
Mhm.
All that to say, we have our main character, Stella, who has CF, and she is classic good girl. She's classic organized. She knows everyone in the hospital. She knows not how to break the rules. There's a lot of stereotypes in this book.
Okay, but through trauma, she does this thing. So, like, in the
Hmm.
same way that,
Hmm.
like, the sweet angel children that I work with are sweet angels because of trauma, not
Hmm.
because healthy, adjusted teens are not necessarily sweet angels.
Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes, exactly. This girl has so much trauma. In the first chapter, she references that her sister, who is no longer with us, we don't know why or how her sister's not there. So she has this like mysterious grief that's not named. She's talking about how she has to save her parents' marriage. And as a child of
Right.
divorce, I was like, girl, I've been down that road. Girl, no. You are not Lindsay Lohan in The Parent Trap. Like we all thought we were at one moment, but that is not the truth, you know? And then also she's left out from her high school trip to Cabo for 2 weeks. They go to Cabo for
Yeah,
two
wild
weeks.
of them to do that. And it's not like a senior trip, it's just like an end of year trip.
Yeah.
So, like,
I,
every year they do a fun little trip. And I'm like, that's crazy.
how rich is Stella's family? Like,
I mean, to afford the medical bills alone, very.
yeah. Yeah, that's another thing I had in this book is our main characters are both very privileged as far as
Mhm.
wealth. And I think it makes sense because that gives a lot of the plot stress not based off how we're going to pay the bills. You know, so like I
Well,
understand,
and then there
but
is someone who does. Like Poe
mhm,
is concerned. He's like, I'm
yes.
about to be off my parents' insurance. I
Hmm.
don't want the person that I love to have to
Hmm.
support me in that way.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, you should just marry the male lead because he's rich.
Yeah. And I'm like, girl, what? Yeah. I don't know. I feel bad for Stella because she's obviously going through so much trauma. But I'm like, your best friend is going through even more. Poe's parents are being deported. He's like struggling with that, with everything else that comes with having CF.
Mhm.
And I liked the character of Poe, and every time he was on screen, I was like, I wish I was reading your story because it's more interesting.
Poe is way more interesting. I hate to say it. As soon as he's introduced and he's not the love
The
interest, I
love
was
and
like, he's
interest.
dying.
Yep.
He's gonna
Uh-huh.
die. And then
Hmm.
I made that my little like reading update, and then a bunch of people liked it, and I was like, dang, he does die, huh?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And at first I was terrified this is going to be a love triangle and I was like, I don't have time. I'm 31. I'm not into love triangles. Like I don't have time for that. Communicate,
Yeah,
you know? And then as soon as they are like, "Oh, and Poe's gay and he has this ex-boyfriend." I'm like, "Okay, not love triangle, good." Oh no. That means
that means he's
yeah,
gonna die.
he's
There's
gonna
just no way he
die.
was gonna survive. Yeah, they did make the poor kid the only character of color and
Yes.
who's gay the
And
one who
yes.
dies.
Yes. And I was like, "Okay, I think we I read diversely. Diverse works are so important. But if you are a white author, which I'm assuming these authors are white just based off their names, and I did not Google that, so if I'm wrong, correct me in my comments. If you're going to have a diverse character, it cannot be the like five different stereotypes within one who also gets killed. Like that is just that's worse than just having only white characters. I think
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, I just yeah, it frustrated me. I was just like bad vibes.
Bad vibes. Bad
Bad
vibes for
vibes.
sure.
Yeah. Speaking of bad vibes, Will, our main boy character,
The bad boy of the hospital.
bad boy at the hospital, he's so emo. He's tall and
He's
lengthy and
so
has dark
emo.
hair, and he draws.
Oh my God. He's just so every teenage girl's dream.
Yes. And yeah, he is Stella's version of Jess from Gilmore Girls.
Oh
And
my God,
mhm.
yes.
And as someone who was in love with Jess when I was a teenager, game under recognizes game, but also as a 31-year-old, I was like, girl, run away. Run away.
Yeah,
Uh,
I haven't seen the movie yet, but I know that
Me
it's played by
neither.
Cole Sprouse, and I was like, yeah,
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I am excited to watch the movie. Because I like the actress who plays Stella. I like her. I don't remember her name. So Stella is not going on a trip because she's sick. And then Will comes in and he has B cepacia, which is a more intense infection within the CF world. And this I actually did learn a lot more about CF than I knew. So that's good, I guess. But folks that have CF, they can't be within 6 feet apart, which I'll talk about in a second, the numbers. Um, yeah, I hope you saw my big eye roll there. Um,
It
but
was so stupid.
um, but if folks with CF can't be within 6 feet apart because they can essentially cross-contaminate and make their infections worse and even more deadly to each other. And then B cepacia is even more likely. Like the likelihood of this kid with B cepacia surviving to his like mid-20s is so low. And there's not currently any medicines that can like help with that as far as when this book was written, which was 2018, I believe. So all that to say is that they're forbidden to see each other because they have CF. They're forbidden to see each other even more because he has B cepacia, which means, of course, they're going to fall in love with each other after two conversations.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And like, I get it. I remember when we were on a family vacation and there was one computer in the lobby of this hotel and I had to check my Facebook. And I went and there was a teenage boy, didn't ever talk to this boy, but he looked vaguely my age. And I was like on Facebook and I'll be like, I bet he's in love with me. And then I walked out, just all in my head. Just then that's, so I get it. When you're 13, I mean, they're not 13, they're like 17, 18, whatever. But like when you're that age, that stuff like that happens. I get it. Is that love? No.
I was literally just rewatching Grey's Anatomy. And there's an episode where this kid is like dying and
Hmm.
he is about to get this like big operation to fix his heart. And then a heart becomes available. And
Hmm.
so they're like, instead of this experimental operation, we're going to just do a heart transplant because that is better for you. And he's like, no, I want to, it's fate that I'm going to be with the love of my life through this mysterious operation. And they're like, dude, what the hell? And then one doctor is like, look, first love is supposed to hurt. It's not supposed to kill you. And then the boyfriend breaks up with him so that he'll get the operation. uh
Ah.
it's so teenager.
Hmm.
I the okay, so in the same vein, a big spoiler for the end is that she gets there are lungs available for
Hmm.
her, which
Hmm.
will give her a much better quality of life.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm not gonna take the lungs because I want to be with this boy that I can't come within 6 feet of. But okay, also, yeah, let's talk about the numbers.
The 6 feet
Because
apart.
yes,
Okay.
so 6 feet is the distance. That's how
Yes.
far they're supposed to be.
And they say it every chapter 3 times.
Yeah.
They're like 6 feet
And
apart, 6 feet apart.
it's in the same vein of like that is why you're supposed to be 6 feet apart for COVID. Is like that is how
Yes.
far a cough or sneeze can travel,
Hmm.
and those germs will kill these
Hmm.
highly susceptible children.
Hmm.
Um, and so they're supposed to stay that far apart. They're supposed to wear gloves and masks when they're not in their room. And this girl makes such a, okay, so he breaks up with her because
Hmm.
there's this doctor who's like, hey, look, I understand that you guys like each other. I
Hmm.
have literally seen children die from mixing these germs.
Because they were, quote, in love, and I let it
Right.
slide. Yeah,
Right.
which
And
poor
I was
nurse.
like, cute. I love your little young love stories, so I support you. And they died. And so she's
Hmm.
like, I'm not letting that happen to another group of children. Do not go near each other.
Hmm.
It's like one of the four rules.
Hmm.
And they are like, no. No, he breaks up with her. He's like,
Yes.
okay, I don't want her to die. I love her and stuff. And she makes the most. So she's also a YouTuber, by the
Oh,
way.
yes. Oh, she not only is she a YouTuber, she's so girl boss. She's making an app for people to for
I do like
medication.
the app.
That part is cool. Yeah, the YouTube part was so cringy. As someone who also used to make lots of YouTube videos back in the day, which are now privated because they were cringy, um, like calling it YouTube Live, like the tech mentioned, I was just like, you don't, this author does not make YouTube videos. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, do 10 minutes of research, ma'am. Like,
Dude, I read this adult romance book where the main character is supposed to be an influencer and it talks about titling your Instagram posts. And I was like, have you ever posted on Instagram before? Because there are not titles.
it's
That
a
it's
caption.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the whole thing. There's not,
Yeah.
and they were formatting it like a blog post. They were like
Mm,
title and then text. And I'm like, that's not what Instagram is, but
mm-mm,
okay.
mm-hmm.
Anyways, Stella, our main girlie, played by Haley Lou Richardson, which I looked up.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so Stella makes this super dramatic YouTube video after her boyfriend breaks up with her so that he doesn't kill her. She's like, they can't, they've taken so much from us. As if it's like the doctor's fault that
It's
you
like
have
it's a big
CF.
pharma. I'm like, girl, you have CF. That's
Yeah.
no one gave that to you on purpose.
So she's like, they take so much from us, and I'm taking something back. I'm taking 1 foot. She holds up this like pool cue that even the main guy is like, where the fuck did she get a pool cue?
This hospital is so ritzy that they probably do have a pool room somewhere, you know?
Yes. He's like, where did they get this pool cue? Whatever.
That's
Uh, and she is like holding it up all dramatic, and she's like, I love this boy, and I'm gonna stand 5 feet away from him instead of 6, and they can't tell me what to do. And it's so stupid.
it's so dumb. And like even before then, they have like their like little secret date. They go swimming together and swimming pools are gross. As a former swimmer, they're gross. And they both are in the water and I'm like, your germs, you're already
Mhm,
switching up germs, guys. Like it's too late.
mhm.
Before even this whole declaration. But when I was doing like my little reading vlog for the Patreon, go check out the Patreon. Um, uh natural plug. um I should do a supercut of every time I like just open the camera to be like, why do they keep saying it's 6 feet apart when the title is 5 feet apart, like just over and over, and then I get to that part and I just like deadpan. I'm like, this is stupid. She's taking back 1 foot. uh it's like I don't know, like I I don't love star-crossed lovers. I don't like forbidden romance. I am not a no longer a teenager, so like this book was set up for me not to like, but also it's just like any sort of logic is out the window. And her
They
parents
don't
are
have
like,
impulse control.
yes, yeah, they don't. They truly don't. But like
Their
her
frontal
parents,
lobes.
true, true. I don't know. I think it's interesting. Her parents, like she is almost graduating high school, so like she
Mhm,
is almost an adult, and her parents are going through a divorce due to the grief of losing their other child, which I thought was a if this book was about grief, would have been way more interesting.
mhm,
Like this whenever they're talking about her grief with her sister Abby. Yes.
mhm.
It was I was like suddenly like way more invested in her story, right? Uh and her parents are just like never there and they don't check up on her, and it's partially because she tells them not to slash tries to parent trap them
Right.
away. But I'm like, if they just came by one time and saw her interacting with Will, they would have shut that down, you know?
I don't think her dad would have. I'll be honest with you. I think that he is a big pushover.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
There's and like I understand that he like wants them to be civil, but I will say I was getting pissed off when they're having their like singular moment together when he's like, "Hey, my bathroom is purple or whatever. What color rug should I have?" And he's like trying to make conversation, but in that way that men just ask you to do labor.
Mm-hmm.
And she has to like plan his bathroom for him in his bachelor pad because he won't make a decision by himself. And like he can, he's
Yeah.
just doing it to like make conversation, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't assign her a task to make
Mm-hmm.
conversation. It pissed me off so much.
Stella's very parentified in this book, like, and
Oh no, he
partially
says that to the
to the
mom.
mom. Oh,
Yeah. Like
oh,
it's
I
when
missed that.
Stella is being taken away for an operation. And
Oh
then
yes.
when they're arguing, then the nurse comes in and is like, "Hey, can y'all stop being children? Because
Mm-hmm.
your child could die at any moment. I need you to like step up."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot about that part. Yeah, uh,
But yes,
that
Stella is very
she
parentified
is
and
parentified. Yeah,
she has to like lie to her parent and she doesn't have to, but she chooses to
she
lie to her
chooses.
parents to take some of the burden off of them, which is like why she does the app and everything, is that she's like, I am going to heal myself and fix everything with my parents and with everyone around me.
Mm-hmm.
So she has this app that like helps her stay on track with all of her medications. She takes an Uber to the hospital and lies to both of her parents, being like, "Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the other parent is driving me to the hospital because they don't want to be together, so they're not all going to come together." And she doesn't tell them when her fever goes up and stuff. Like the nurses really have to contact the parents if they need
Mm-hmm.
anything because they are just not involved. And that is by Stella's choice, but also I think
Yeah.
that it's stressful to watch them be angry with each other.
Like I understand her impulse to wanting to keep them happy and to try and fix it again. Like as a child of divorce, I understood. But at the same time, she has like a very intense, like cystic fibrosis is intense. And I understand that they're going through grief because we find out later that Abby, who was her sister, who, because it's like kind of like she's kind of like the opposite of Stella, right? Because she
Mm-hmm.
was not stuck at the hospital, she was lived like a dangerous is not really the word, but more adrenaline focused life. Like she wanted to live with a capital L.
Yeah, she
Like,
was living a very full
mhm.
life.
Yes, yes. And so she went on a trip that Abby was supposed to go on with her, but Abby got sick with a, I don't know, a cold or something that sent her to the
Hey, Abby's
hospital.
the sister.
Oh, sorry, Stella. Thank you. Stella got sick. Stella was supposed to go, but she got sick and had to go to the hospital. But Abby ended up going on a bungee jump, which she had before, and ended up dying in a bungee jumping accident. And we get a little bit of Stella thinking about like when she ends up spiraling out about thinking about Abby's death, where she's like, what did Abby feel? Like it's all her own fears of death projected on Abby. It's this
Mm-hmm.
moment of her and her grief, and that's the big force of why she wants her to keep her parents happy and get healthy for her parents so they don't have to lose another daughter because they saw what happened. And that part, again, like that's part of the story, the tension of the story is interesting. And I think what many people who have CF in their families or family members of folks that have CF have to deal with these big thoughts and these big grief issues. And I think that would have been a better story, a more
Mm-hmm.
helpful story. And instead we got this like half-assed romance where like they throw one birthday party, like they hang out like what, three times before like the ending sequence, right? And at one point
They're
he
doing a lot
literally.
of like FaceTime and
Yes,
texting
I
and
I forgot about the FaceTime. That's true. They are FaceTiming a lot, which I was like, good. That's what you should only be doing is FaceTiming.
yeah.
Technology has given this to you. Like, use it. At one point, Will does like a whole like Scooby-Doo thing where he hides behind the curtains to hide from the nurse. Or I
I
was
will
just like,
say that one thing was kind of cute that he like did the he like recreated the artwork that her sister had made just
yes.
on her wall.
Hmm.
But instead of that, what if you simply moved that artwork? Like, why did you recreate it?
Yeah.
It's just taped to the wall. You can just
Well,
take that and move it.
it's because he's an artist,
I
you know?
know.
Uh, Also, I found it so creepy that he watched all of her YouTube videos and had this like crazy parasocial relationship with her. And like, again, if I was 16 and I had access to my crush's YouTube channel, I would, of course, watched every single video. So, like, this is a very teenager thing, but like, it is creepy, you know?
Well,
Like,
and he says that. He's like,
uh-huh.
if somebody's watching the like viewer history of this, because it's specifically he watches them all, but he talks a lot about the one after she gets the lung operation and she's like
Hmm.
healthier. And he's
Hmm.
like rewatching this one part at the beginning where she takes a deep breath and he's like, that's so hot. Breathing, that's crazy.
Oh, the phrase, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding in happens like 4 times in this book.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, you get one before I'm rolling my eyes, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, this book. I
I will say I liked the epilogues, the two epilogues of like
Mhm.
where she is healthy and going about her life and he's like watching it through a video screen and then he feels healthy. He's going on these trips and he says like I'm still sick, I still have CF,
Mhm.
but I'm going to start seeing all the places because his family's very rich and he has been to a lot of different countries for experimental medical procedures and not
Mhm.
to like view these places. So now he
Mhm.
gets to go and look and see. Uh, and in his point of view, it's feeling very hopeful. And in her point of view, it is as well. But we switch over to her point of view, and he is like visibly sick. He's skinnier than she's ever seen. His face is sallow. He's like pale. And I'm like, that was an interesting way to end it. And I liked that not not in a like yay he's sick kind of way but in a
Yeah.
like yeah that's like a real this is
Mhm.
his I'm probably not going to make it to my next birthday trip.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't like the ending, but I did like the epilogues. The ending scene sequences, like, so we this whole time there's like this park they can see from the roof that looks beautiful and that she always
Mm-hmm.
wants to go to, or hasn't been. She used to go with Abby. And so he does he leave first or she leave first? Or they leave together?
What are you talking about? The end
Or they
scene
go
of
Or
the
they go out the
hospital,
hospital
he's
before
like on the phone with her
or like
and he says goodbye on the phone.
Will they go out to the park?
They are not together at the end there. He's like, you're gonna get, or like your new, she has woken up from her new lungs, and he is like, he's
But
made her like a
before
booklet.
that,
I don't know
so I
what you're
guess it's
talking
not the
about.
end when they actually go to the park, right? Where we have the whole like ice scene and everything, and they're holding hands.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when she gets the call that her lungs are in,
Yes.
and she's like,
Yeah.
no.
She's no. And then she falls and goes into the ice and has this
Yeah.
like weird supernatural interaction with Abby, which I didn't mind. She gets rescued by Will, which I'm glad he didn't let her die. Like that, yes, grab the girl out of the frozen lake. But then he gives her mouth to mouth. And like, I understand that is what you should be doing in that situation. And even the nurse later is
Mm-hmm.
like, you did good because she would have been dead if you didn't. But it's just like,
Right.
right after she finds out she has a lung on the way and he has the piece of aphasia and it's just it's such high stakes
Mm-hmm.
and it just I don't know it felt like such high stakes and this is after Poe's death, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is low-key their fault, you know, maybe not
Yeah.
so low-key, like high-key their fault. And I think that's what I didn't like about this book is them being still so reckless after Poe's death, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Because Poe ends up
Well, I
dying
think
after
that
the birthday
that's
party. Yeah, go for it.
right. I think that that's like what I think Poe's death is the reason Stella gets more reckless, is that she's
Hmm.
like, he was doing everything right. Like he was following the rules and he was doing everything, even though he did ultimately die because he wasn't following the rules, whatever.
Yeah.
In her mind, he has been
Hmm.
doing everything right. And she doesn't have a fully developed frontal cortex. So
Yes.
she doesn't make the connection of like, it is because of the party that he died. She's very much like, at any moment we could all die, and I'm not going to live my life half full because
Hmm.
of this disease anymore, because no matter what, I could die at any moment. And so
Hmm.
that's sort of when she decides to like go on this adventure with what was his name?
Will.
Will. I was like,
Hmm.
Max? No. She goes on this adventure with Will, and she gets the call that her lungs are in, and she's like, you know what? No, like
Hmm.
this is my life, and I'm gonna live it the way that I want to live it. And if I get those new lungs, they'll never let us see each other again, which was okay. And so she turns down the lungs, but only in her mind. And so the hospital is still like, hey, girly pop, we got lungs for you. Where are you? Why are you not in your room? What's going on? And then they start calling Will, and they're like, hey, have you seen her? Because she has lungs. And he's like, oh my God, girly, you got lungs. And she's like, no, I think I'm gonna not. And
Yeah,
he's
just
like, that's a
you.
really stupid idea, which
Hmm.
I appreciate that Will was like, what the hell? Bro, what's going on? And this is now the second time that he has been like, okay, I have to be the one to step back. Like, she's not going to step. And he did step back the first time. And then she like badgered him into coming back.
Yes,
Uh,
obsessively.
yes. So now this is the second time, and he gets her out of the ice and takes her to the hospital. And then he has to like tell the nurses and be like, I gave her mouth to mouth, and I am really worried that
Hmm.
I have given her this disease, and can she still get her lungs with the piece of aphasia? And they're like, well, the lungs will not make it to another hospital for another patient, so we're going to
Hmm.
go ahead and do the operation and cross our fingers. And somehow magically she does not get it.
Yeah,
Okay. And then she has the new lungs, and then he does this like
the book thing.
video. Yeah, he makes her his little art project, and then he calls and it's like, I am so happy for you. Go live your best life. And she's like,
Hmm.
no, Poe. Keep calling him Poe. Just feel like Poe's a good main character name.
It's a great
No,
name.
Will come back. And he's like, no. And then I think he like leaves and goes
He
to a
leaves a
different hospital.
kiss. Doesn't he leave a kiss on the glass window? Like a, or like a hand. No, that they put their hands up. They put their
Yeah.
hands up, and I think she kisses the window. I don't think he does.
Ew.
Yeah, it's gross. And do they kiss besides the CPR?
I feel like
I don't think they did.
maybe or no.
I
I
don't
don't think
remember.
so.
It's not that important if they did. I mean, it is because she could die, but like plot wise, you know,
Yeah.
I just like, I don't know. The epilogue is good. I'm happy with how that ended up, that they went their own ways and they're able to live their lives, you know, in different ways, but like in like you learned from this past experience kind of way. I just in general, I did not care about Stella or Will. I cared about Poe.
Hmm.
And it's just I don't know. It's but at the same time, I can see why teenagers love this book. Like it's why
Hmm.
people, you know, like it's very star-crossed lovers. Like I always think of Romeo and Juliet, right? Because any Western uh world book, it's gonna have references to that. And like if this was any like I was thinking whenever they're on the rooftop, I was like, okay, this is kind of like a balcony situation, like in Romeo and Juliet. They literally have a nurse, you know, like the nurse in Romeo and Juliet. There's not much that are actually adaptations to Romeo and Juliet, but my brain always goes there. Um, but I don't know. I think if you're 14, you'll love this, you know?
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think the writing style is fine for a YA. I don't think it's the strongest, you know? I am interested to see how the script is in the
Hmm.
movie because it was written at the same time, like in tandem. I think that's really interesting as far as like a creative project. Um, I I am interested to see how like Manic Pixie Dream Girl they make Stella in the movie because I feel like they're gonna go that route. You know?
Yeah.
Is there like a part of the book that you need to see in the movie as far as like an adaptation wise? Like, is there a chunk that's if it's not there, you'll be like, what?
Oh, you know what I think would be really cinematically interesting would be the nurse telling the story of the other patients who had passed away from the exact same experience. And I think
Hmm.
seeing maybe some mirror images of some scenes we've already seen between Will and Stella in this other couple, I think that that would just be like a really visually interesting
Hmm.
choice.
Yeah.
So that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
definitely. I think that, and I think the rooftop scene, and not that it's like the most important for what I want. I just hope it's not super CGI backgrounds. Like if they put
Oh,
if they put some energy into the rooftop scene, I think it'll be very visually nice. But I can also see them going super CGI and super green screen, and I'm not a fan. You know?
I'm so sick of CGI.
Right?
I just prefer so much the like, and I understand that it's cheesy and lame, but I just so much prefer the like FX makeup of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as opposed to like a CGI vampire face, you know?
100%, 100%. I love a set piece. I love when they try to create a world. Like, you watch movies like An American in Paris, and I'm like, this is filmmaking, Like recreate a town, but it's all a piece of wood. That's amazing. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But, at least most of the scenes are in a hospital, and there's tons of hospital sets in the world. So it's
right.
just whenever they have outdoor worlds or the whole Abby of it all, like her videos to Stella, I'm gonna make an assumption that they're gonna be very cheesy, like selfie stick travel vlog
Oh
esque.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, which I mean fits if she's traveling and, bungee jumping and stuff. That's that world.
It would have been an interesting choice to instead of I know that her videos are like targeted at other people to like learn about CF, and I think that that's still good. But I think that especially after Abby's passing, it would be interesting to do more of a like video diary series that's like at Abby to be like,
Hmm.
I just feel like we needed more of the grief and more of the like, this is I am the one who was left behind. I am the one who now has to like save my parents' marriage and everything. And I think that having a video diary that's like targeted at her sister who has passed in the same way that like if I was recording myself and sending it to you, it wouldn't be a conversation, even
Hmm.
though you're here and alive.
It'd be
So I
like a
think that that
letter.
would be right.
Yeah.
I think that that would be like a more interesting way, and for her to like talk about like, oh, Poe and I did this, or like, oh, I met this boy and his name is
Hmm.
Will, and all these things that she wants to tell Abby but can't, that she's kind of just
Hmm.
sending into the ether of the internet, would have been
Hmm.
an interesting choice.
I think that would definitely be more interesting as a reader, and I think would will be would it be more interesting than if they do the YouTube information video route on the movie? And I wonder how much of that they'll keep,
Mm-hmm.
Because but also like it's interesting because they wrote the script the same time they wrote the book. And
Right.
so I'm really interested in see
It's got
how
to be very
different it
similar.
is. Yeah, which makes sense of why this book was so short and fast is because and like most I mean as much dialogue as they could, right? If it
Mm-hmm.
was being written next to a screenplay. I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the movie. And
Well, and you said the start
yeah.
of the screenplay was before, so technically
Hmm.
it's like a book adaptation of a screenplay before the
Play.
movie is produced.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Interesting. Thank you, Ashley. This was really fun. And like even though I didn't love the book, I enjoyed the experience. Sometimes you just
good.
kind of have to grumpy read a book. It makes the good books that you enjoy even better,
I
you know?
agree.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And honestly, when I was reading it, I was like, these are stupid decisions, but I wasn't like angry reading it. I was just
No.
like, ugh,
Yeah.
teenagers.
Yep. It's just like you got to roll your eyes and keep going. Yeah.
But I
Uh,
wasn't hate reading it. I was just like,
oh,
yeah, this is how
yeah.
teenagers are.
This belongs in the YA section for sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashley, for joining. And again, check out the episode we did on Ashley's podcast. I'll link that below, all the things. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please rate us 5 stars and 5 stars only. If it's not 5 stars, you don't have to worry about it. Share the podcast with your friends. Like us on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. And again, check out the Patreon if you're interested. There's a free tier. Thanks for listening. And remember, read the book first.